Welcome back to another class on Gemara Journey with Rashi. We are continuing Masecht Berachot Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. This will be part 2 of the Shi'ur. We're 5 lines from the top of the page going down, beginning the words with Ad Sov Ha'ashmor until the end of the watch. Now, like usual, we have to understand whenever you have the 2 dots before the words, 2 dots after the words, you should know it's a new topic altogether. We want to go ahead and dissect the next item in the Mishnah. If you look into the Mishnah, Daf Bet Amud Aleph, it says, Memotai Kurim Deshma Baravin. We took care of that. When it says, Meshash Kurim Nichnatzil Chubut Matan, we spoke about that. Now the next theme in the Mishnah is Ad Sov Ha'ashmor Harishona. Excuse me, Rabbi Eliezer, until the end of the first watch. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. And this is what we want to go ahead and try to focus on today. Why did Rabbi Eliezer have to use a language of until the end of the first watch? Couldn't Rabbi Eliezer just tell us the time? Or couldn't Rabbi Eliezer just tell us 3 hours into the night, 4 hours into the night? Can you imagine asking a rabbi, what time do I have to say Shema according to Rabbi Eliezer? Until the end of the first watch. Okay, Azak Baruch. When is that until the end of the first watch? So I have to sit here and guess when until the end of the first watch is? So this is what we want to try to see Be'ezrat Hashem B'Neder today. So the Gemara begins, Ad Sov Ha'ashmor, until the end of the first watch. Like I just mentioned, program everything what this is going on, meaning is going on up to when can a person recite the Kriya Shema in the evening. Rabbi Eliezer says until the end of the first watch, and have that in mind, and now we can understand the Gemara. The Gemara asks a question. My Kasavar Rabbi Eliezer. What did Rabbi Eliezer hold? Look into Rashi. Rashi is my Kasavar Chulu. Right? What did Rabbi Eliezer hold, etc.? He should have said a time which is recognizable, meaning a recognizable time. Why didn't Rabbi Eliezer just tell us the time, what was going on over here until the end of the first watch? Ooh, it doesn't make sense. So the Gemara continues and he says, if Rabbi Eliezer holds that the night consists of 3 watches, let him say Adar Bashot. So let him say, up to when can one recite the Kriya Shema in the evening? Into the 4th hour of the night. But if Rabbi Eliezer held that the night consists of 4 watches, Lema ad Shalosh, so let him say until the 3rd hour, meaning 3 hours into the night. So this is the question about time. This is what the Gemara is bothered by. Why did Rabbi Eliezer have to say until the end of the first watch? He could have told, 3 hours into the night, 4 hours into the night. Now, before we do continue, let me just explain how this thing works, okay? So you guys know how we actually are getting it. One second, our boys say. Just want to make sure you guys understand it. Okay. Okay, boys, here we go. Here we go. Right? What does Rabbi Eliezer hold? We want to first understand what does Rabbi Eliezer hold. Does Rabbi Eliezer hold that the night consists of 3 watches? So if the night consists of 3 watches, why didn't Rabbi Eliezer just tell me into 4 hours of the night? Up to then you're able to say Shema. Because you have to understand, if we have a perfect 12-hour night, if you divide 12 divided by 3, you get 4. So that means every single watch will be 4 hours. So when you ask Rabbi Eliezer, so when can you recite the Kriya Shema in the evening? She should have told you until the end of the 4th hour of the night. That's all. Meaning until 10 p.m. Why did Rabbi Eliezer have to tell you until the end of the first watch? That's side 1, side 2. Or maybe Rabbi Eliezer really held that the night consists of 4 watches. So if the night consists of 4 watches, you take 12 divided by 4, you get 3. So every single watch consists of 3 hours. So if every single watch consists of 3 hours, now, beautiful, from 6 to 9 is 3 hours. So Rabbi Eliezer, up to when can one recite the Kriya Shema in the evening? Up until, meaning 3 hours into the night, which is up until 9 p.m. So why didn't, okay, who do you hold Rabbi Eliezer? If you hold like this Manda Amar, like the one that wants to say it's, the night consists of 3 watches, so tell me, until 10 p.m. If you want to tell me you hold like this Manda Amar that it holds, the night consists of 4 watches, so tell me until 9 p.m. Why did you, Rabbi Eliezer, have to go ahead and use the language Ha'ashmor Harishona? What is this? Were you speaking in a hint? Were you speaking in language that nobody should understand how to go ahead and learn? So let's see this inside Rabotai. So one more time. Mike saw Rabbi Eliezer. What did Rabbi Eliezer hold? And Rashi said, he should have just told us a more recognizable time. If Rabbi Eliezer held the night consists of 3 watches, let him say until the 4th hour. But if he held that the night consists of 4 watches, let him say until the 3rd hour. You look at Rashi. Rashi says Ikasavar. What's going on over here? Why are we even asking this question? Rashi is going to tell us that there is a machloket amongst the Amoraim or the Tanaim. I have to see in the Mishnah. I think it is a Baraita. And Rabotai, remember, if it's a Baraita, it's the Amoraim. If it's a Mishnah, it's the Tanaim. Let me just see right over here. It's a Baraita. Okay, to Sefta. Okay, fine. In any event, Rabotai, Rashi is going to explain to us a machloket that we'll see later on in Daf Gimel amud bet. How do I know over there? It's not magic. I'll show you. So look into Rashi. Rashi says, Ikasar. What did Rabbi Eliezer hold? So why are we even asking this question? So Rashi explains. The pligi. Oh, he says right over here. The pligi Tana'el kamen behamilta, because the Tanaim argue later on in that thing. Meaning, does the night consist of 3 hours? Not 3 hours, Michela. Does the night consist of 3 watches, or does the night consist of 4 watches? If you look into the word lekamen, there's a small olive. If you look into Besort Shas Ima Hosofot, right over here. Over there you see it says amud bet. That's all it says. Right? It says amud bet. What does that mean, amud bet? Side 2. Where's the daf? What page? Common sense. That means if there's no daf, that means you're on the same daf. It's just side 2. And that's how I knew it was over there, okay? That's how you basically look up the sources. You don't have to be a genius, Rabotai. Now, so it says, that's what he says. The pliket Tana'el kamen behamilta. And plus here, from here we see that it's the Tanaim that argue over there. So, the Tanaim argued later on in Daf Gimel Amud Bet. In this matter, does the night consist of 3 watches, or does it consist of 4 watches? Ikamanda Amar, there's one that wants to say Gimel Mishmarot Havai Halayla, the night consists of 3 watches. And again, remember, Rabotai, what are those watches done for? So he explains, B'mishmarot Avodat HaMelachim V'shir Shalahem Nechlak L'Shalosha Chalakim. In the watches of the service of the angels, and their singing is divided into 3 parts. Rishona, the first watch, is divided lekat achat, for one group of angels. Shniya, the second watch, lekat acheret, is divided for the other group of angels. Shilishit, the third watch, lekat shilishit, is divided for the third group of angels. So that's what he wants to learn, that in Shamayim, there are malachim that are doing the avodah malachim, they're doing the job of an angel, and they're singing Rabotai. So each one has a time, a watch where they sing. So there's 3 classes, there's 3 groups of angels that go ahead and they sing, and each group is divided into each watch. So the first watch, the first group. The second watch, the second group. The third watch, the third group. Okay. So that's what that month Amr wants to learn. There has to be 3 watches. That the night consists of 3 watches. So if the night consists of 3 watches, Rabbi Eliezer just should have told us until the 4th hour. Continues Rashi, and he says, V'ikaban Amr, there's another one, Rabbi, there's the one that wants to say, he wants to learn Arba Mishmorot Ave Halayla. The night consists of 4 watches. Again, according to him, if the night consists of 4 watches, so then Rabbi Eliezer should have told us into the 3rd hour of the night. Okay. So now that we know that, now that Rashi brought us this machlok between the 2 Tanaim, so we clearly know now that there is a machlok in Daf Gimel Amud Bet, if the night consists of 3 watches, or if the night consists of 4 watches, and the one that holds that the night consists of 3 watches, because he says, is going on the service of the angels when they would sing in Shamayim, and we divided amongst them equally. So now we want to know, Rabbi Eliezer, who do you go like? Do you go like the Manda Amr that says the night consists of 3 watches? Or do you go like the one that says the night consists of 4 watches? And that's what the Gemara was asking. So let's just go back one more time from the Gemara and we'll go straight into the answer. My Kasav Rabbi Eliezer, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold? If he held the night consists of 3 watches, Lema ad arba sha'ot, he should have said until the 4th hour. But if Rabbi Eliezer held the night consists of 4 watches, Lema ad shalosh sha'ot, he should have said until the 3rd hour. So now the Gemara answers. The Gemara says, La'olam, really, Kesavar shalosh mishmarot havalayla. Really, Rabbi Eliezer held that the night consists of 3 watches. Now we have another problem. Now that we know Rabbi Eliezer holds like the one that says the night consists of 3 watches, the obvious question is like the Gemara asked, so why didn't Rabbi Eliezer just tell us until the 4th hour of the night? Why did Rabbi Eliezer have to tell us until the end of the 1st watch? So he says, V'hakam mashma, and this is what he wanted to, again, Rabotai, the word V'hakam mashma means this is what he wanted to let you hear. But, meaning, Allah means to us, this is what he wanted to let us hear. But I use it, Rabotai, V'hakam mashma, and this is what he wanted to teach us. Okay, you don't have to be, Rabotai, particular with the words, but I just gave you the translation. It's just, you have to understand that in English, you have to want to make it more, so it should sound, it should make some sense when you're speaking. In Hebrew it sounds one way, in English it sounds completely different. Okay. Now, Rabotai, if you look into Rashi where it says V'hakam mashma, now this V'hakam mashma is going to come to try to answer why Rabbi Eliezer didn't tell us a more specific time. Right, like Rashi said it before. He should have told us a recognizable time. Why did Rabbi Eliezer do that? So comes Rashi and he says, V'hakam mashma, and this is what Rabbi Eliezer was trying to teach us. When Rabbi Eliezer gave you the sign for the time of reciting the Shema towards the end of the 1st watch, and he didn't tell you an open sign, right? He didn't tell you an open siman. You know why he didn't do it? He came to teach us that there should be recognition for every single person. That every single person should understand that the nights in our world, meaning in the land, there are watches at night. Continues Rashi and he says, just like you have these watches in heaven. So what is Rashi telling us right now? Why didn't Rabbi Eliezer want to tell us an open time? Because he wanted to teach us, Rabotai, that every single person should know and understand in the times of the watches. Just like it's in the Rikiya you have watches, so too in the land, on the earth, we also have watches. He could have told you easily, yeah, up into the 4th hour of the night. That's the thing. He could have told you. But you would never be able to know then that these watches on the land correspond to the watches in the heaven. Alright, so let's just do that. Let's just do that Rashi one more time, and then we'll get straight back into the Gemara. And this is what Rabbi Gamliel, and this is what Rabbi Eliezer wanted to teach us. when he gave you the sign to recite the Kriya Shema by the end of the first watch, and he didn't tell you an open sign to when is it, like saying the fourth hour by the night, right? Like saying into the fourth hour of the night. He didn't do that. Why he didn't do it? To teach you that there should be a recognition, that there should be a distinction for every single person in the thing, meaning in the watches, just like you have the watches in the heaven. So let's go back into the Rashi now, not Rashi, the Gemara. So the Gemara says, the Oilam Kasavar Shalosh Mishmar Havalayla. Really, Rabbi Eliezer held the night consists of 3 watches. If the night consists of 3 watches, so why didn't Rabbi Eliezer tell us until the 4th hour of the night? So the Gemara answers, V'haka Mashma. This is what Rabbi Eliezer wanted to teach us. The Ika Mishmarot Birakiya, you have watches in heaven. The Ika Mishmarot Ba'ar'a, and you also have watches on the land. The Tanakh was taught in the Baraita. Rabbi Eliezer says, Shalosh Mishmarot Have Halayla. The night consists of 3 watches. Ve'alkol Mishmaru Mishmar, and on every single watch, Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem sits, Ve'shoeg Ka'ari, and he roars like a lion. Sheinamalik, the pasuk says, Hashem mimarom yishag, umimon kosho yiten kolo, sha'og yishag al nevehu. Right, Hashem from above, he roars, from his abode, from his resting place, from his holy resting place, he gives out his voice, and he rose again on his resting place. Now, Rabotai, if you look into Rashi, by the way, it's a verse in the Torah, so we're going to have to go in Tanakh, we're going to have to go see it. I just gave you a very loose translation. We're going to go to the back of the book, we're going to see it, don't worry. If you look into Rashi first, it says, Ishag, Sha'og, Ishag. The verse brings 3 roarings, Hari Gimel. So from over here we see that in heaven, you have 3 watches. So comes Rabbi Eliezer. The reason why Rabbi Eliezer wanted to tell you the language of Atzov HaAshmor HaRishona, why do you want to teach us this language until the end of the first watch? Why do you even want to speak about the watches? To come and teach us. Just like there's watches in Shamayim, so too there's watches in the land. Do you know how many watches there are in Shamayim? 3 watches. How do I know there's 3 watches? Because of the 3 roarings that Hashem did. If Hashem did 3 roarings in Shamayim, and they have to be identical to the land, that means we have to have 3 watches on the land also. That's what Rabbi Eliezer holds. The night consists of 3 watches because he wants to make it parallel to the watches in heaven. Now, if you look into Torah Or Shalom, Rabotai, I'll do this a few more times, and after that, I'm expecting you guys to know it when I say it. Right? Torah Or Shalom, right over here, for the verses. It says, if you look on the parentheses on the bottom, it says, Yirmiyah Chavhei Lamed. We have to look into Yirmiyah, chapter 25, verse 30. So let's go back in the back of the book. Where do you go? Alright. Rabotai, by me I have it on page Yud Gimel. Fine. In Chavhei, Perik Chavhei, Pasuk Lamed. Now again, Rabotai, I want to show you something. Let me show you something. Okay. This is something. Okay. Alright. As you guys can see, Rabotai, I do this very much in the back. Very important to do it. If you see right over here, we're going to have the verse. And underneath the verse, you're going to have the Mefarshim. So this is going to explain how to learn this verse. It's just, you're going to see, once you understand this, you have a clear understanding of what the verse is trying to teach us. Okay. So the pasuk says, I'll read the pasuk and then I will go straight into the explanation of the pasuk. V'ata tinaveh lahem, and you should prophesy unto them, et kol advarim ha'ela, all these words, or all these things. V'amart lahem, and you should say to them, Hashem imarom, Hashem from above, Yishag, he roars, umamon kasho, from his holy resting place, Yiten kolo, sha'og yishag al nevehu, He's going to give his voice, he's going to roar on his resting place. Chedad kidorochim, he's going to scream like the people that trample on wine, meaning on grapes. Yanet kol yushrei ha'aretz. So too Hashem is going to answer to all the residents of the land. Now, that was just a pasuk. Now look what difference it makes when we do it with the Mefarshim. He said like this. Ve'ata Yirmiyah. Hashem says to Yirmiyah, and you Yirmiyah. You have to go, so we're going to be going back and forth, okay? Ve'ata Yirmiyah tenaveh. And you Yirmiyah, go ahead and prophesize. Alahem, to them. Who's them? So he says, Al kol ha'omot, unto all the nations. And kol ha'dvarim ha'ele, and all these things. Ve'amarta alahem, and say to them, Hashem mimarom. He defines over here what means mimarom. Mishamayim haramim, from the high heavens. Yish'ag, why does he have to say Hashem mimarom yish'ag? Hashem from the high heavens, he's going to roar. Inyan tzaka, it has to do a matter of screaming. Umimon kodsho, what means umimon? So he explains over here, Inyan modor. It's a place of residency where Hashem resides. His holy residency. Yiten kolo, he's going to give off his voice. Sha'og yishag al nevehu. He's going to roar on his navehu. What's navehu? So he explains. Miduro, that's his resting place. That's his residency. Mitabel al khurban beito. Hashem mourns on the destruction of his Beit HaMikdash. Continues the pasuk. Hedad kideruchim. What means hedad? So he says in the explanation of the pasuk, hedad have, hedad it becomes kiderech doruchei yain, like the ones that they go ahead and they trample on wine. Hamirimim kol hedad lezeres ze et ze litchazek. Right? They start raising a voice of encouragement. They start strengthening one the other in the wine press. Meaning when they were stepping on the grapes to make wine, they're strengthening one another to go ahead and scream and step and step. So if you look into the word over here, it says Yaneh. What means Yaneh? He says, Ken yarim Hashem kol al kol yusha haaretz ligzor alahem churban ve'avidon. So too Hashem is going to raise his voice on all the people that live in the land to decree on them destruction and that they should be lost. So that's what Rabotai, this pasuk, that's why it's going on. So if we read the pasuk like that, it says like this. Ve'ata, and you Yirmiyah, tinaveh alehem, go ahead and prophesize to the other nations. Ed kol advarim ha'elav amart alehem, all these things, and say to them, Hashem mimarom, Hashem from above, from the high heavens. Yish'ag, he's going to scream. Umima'on kodsho, and from his holy resting place. Yiten kolo yisha'og yish'ag al nevehu. He's going to give out a voice, like a roaring voice, on the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. Hedad kideruchim, how is he going to scream out? Just like the people that go ahead and they trample on the wine, when they raise their voice to go ahead and encourage one another, Yaneh, so too I, Hashem says, I will raise my voice. Al kol yosher ha'aretz, he says, I will raise my voice on all the land, on all the people of the land, Ligzor, to go ahead and decree on them complete destruction. Okay, that was the pasuk Rabotai. Now we go back to Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. Let's just see that one more time. Now we can see it clearly, Rabotai. So he says like this: the Tanakh was talking about Rabbi Lezer says, Shalosh mishmarot havelayla. The night consists of 3 watches. On every single watch, Hashem sits and he roars like a lion. Malik the pasuk says that Hashem mimarom yish'ag, Hashem from high he roars. Umimon kosho yiten kolo, and from his resting place, from his abiding place where he lives, he gives off his voice. Sha'og yish'ag al nevehu. Hashem goes ahead and he roars and he screams on the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. Continues the Gemara. The Gemara says, V'siman ledavar. How do we know when? How can one know that the watches on the land, meaning the watches on the earth, correspond to the watches in heaven? How do we know that this time when Hashem is going ahead and he's roaring, the first watch, the second watch, and the third watch, how do we know that this is happening over here, Rabotai? Those watches are also over here on the earth. So he says like this, and a hint to this is like this, a sign to this is like this. Mishmar Rishonah, the first watch when Hashem is roaring, Chamor Noer. The first watch, you should know that when Hashem is roaring, on the land, the first watch over here, the donkey brays. That's the first watch. The first watch on the land is the first watch in the heaven. Shniya, the second watch on the land, Kilavim Tzoakim. When the dogs start barking. When the dogs start barking, you should know that is the second watch when Hashem is screaming from up in heaven. Shilishit, the third watch. Tinok yunek mishedei imo. A child, he breastfeeds from his mother's breast. V'isha mistaperet im ba'ala. And the wife speaks to her husband. On that third watch, you should know that is the third watch where Hashem also goes ahead and he roars like a lion on the destruction of his Beit HaMikdash. So we see over here, Rabotai, the three watches in heaven correspond to the three watches on earth. Okay. Now that we figured this out, now we know that Rabbi Eliezer, the reason why, first of all, we asked the question, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold? Does he hold the night consists of 3 watches or 4 watches? So once we answered the question, we saw that Rabbi Eliezer holds that the night consists of 3 watches. The next obvious question is, so why didn't he tell us into 4 hours into the night? Why do you have to stay until the end of the first watch? So he wanted us to know that the watches that we have over here in the world, meaning on the land, on the earth, they correspond to the watches in heaven. And like we saw, like each watch represented something else to represent another watch in heaven. Continues the Gemara says now like this. Maika Chashiv Rabbi Eliezer. Now we have another problem. Oh, you know something? Let's do Rashi. V'isha Mistaver in Baila. And the wife, she speaks with her husband. Kvar Higiria Karov Liyom, because it's already reached the closeness, it's already reached to the closeness of the day. Ubnei Adam mitorarim mishinatan, and people get up from their sleep. V'ashochvim yachad mistavrim zeim zeh. And the people that are still lying together with each other, they start talking with one another. Alright, that was the third watch. Fine. Rabotai, the Gemara asks a question. What did Rabbi Eliezer consider? Meaning, what was he thinking? Look into Rashi. What was Rabbi Eliezer considering? Simanim alalu shenatan lemishmorot haaretz heicha nitnu. Right? I'm very happy. You know, you Rabbi Eliezer told us, you gave us the signs that the donkey brays on the first watch, the dog barks on the second watch, and the wife and the child suckles from the mother's breast, and the wife speaks to her husband. I'm very happy that you gave us these signs to know that these watches correspond to the ones in heaven. But he says, the Gemara is asking right now, Rabbi Eliezer, these siman that you gave us, where did you place them? Did you place them in the beginning of the watch? Did you place them in the end of the watch? Did you place them in the middle of the watch? And I'll show you what I mean. Now that we know the night consists of 3 watches, each watch has the length of 4 hours. The Gemara is asking Rabbi Eliezer, you just told me that the watches on the earth, they correspond to the watches in heaven. So you told me over here that the donkey brays. The second watch, the dog barks. The third watch, the wife speaks with the husband. Okay? So comes Rashi now and he said like this. He's explaining the question of the Gemara. Maika Chashiv. What did Rabbi Eliezer consider? Simanim halalu shenatan lemishmoret haaretz hecha nitnu. These signs that Rabbi Eliezer gave to the watches of the land, where were they given? Meaning, is it over here? Is it the beginning of the first Is it the beginning of the mishmar, the beginning of the watch? Is it the beginning of the watch? Is it the end of the watch? Is it the middle of the watch? Is it the beginning of the watch? Is it the end of the watch? Rabotai, you understand what's going on over here? I need to know when you tell me right now that, remember, if you're going to be able to tell me that the donkey brays at the beginning of the watch, so I know 4 hours into the day, that is when Hashem is also roaring. If you're going to tell me when the dog brays, even if you tell me it brays in the middle of the watch, I'll know 2 hours here, 2 hours there, because I'm going to divide the day into 3. If you're going to tell me when the wife speaks with the husband towards the end, so I'll go 4 hours back, I'll know that this was the 3rd watch. But again, I'm going to be able to know the watches in heaven. I'm going to be able to know the watches on the land that they're parallel with the watches in heaven. So this is what we want to try to go ahead and see. Rabbi Lezer, you gave us these signs. Okay, but when you're not, the donkey is not braying all 4 hours, correct? The dog is not barking all 4 hours. The wife is not speaking all 4 hours, or maybe she is. I don't know. No, she's not. She's not. Rabotai, I'm just saying, but we need to know. It has to be a starting point. It has to be an ending point. Let me know. So let's see it one more time, Rabotai. The Gemara says like this. My kachash Rabbi Lezer. What did Rabbi Lezer consider? Rashi said, Simanim halalu shenatan mishmor haaretz heichen nitnu. These signs that Rabbi Lezer gave us for the watches of the land, where were they given? B'tchilat hashmurot. Was it given in the beginning of the watches, or besofan, or in the end of the watches? Here we go, Rabotai. Okay, let's do like this. I don't know if you guys can see like that. You know, so I'll do like this. If you guys can see, I'll pick it up after. So let's go back into the Gemara. The Gemara is like this. What did Rabbi Lezer consider? If he was really going and trying to go on the beginning of the watch, he was considering that the donkey brays in the beginning of the watch, the dog barks in the beginning of the watch, the wife speaks in the beginning of the watch. Okay, beautiful. If that is the case, I have a problem. Why? He says, if Rabbi Eliezer is considering that the signs were given to the beginning of the watches, I have a problem. Why? The beginning of the first watch, why do I need a sign? Here we go. If you're going to tell me right now that all the signs were in the beginning, correct? The donkey brays over here, the dog barks over here, the wife speaks over here. If that's what you're going to tell me, why do you have to give me a siman over here? You don't have to give me a siman. Because the Gemara is going to say once it's over here, I know it's already night. If it's already night, you don't need to give me a siman. I know 4 hours over here, so I know this is 4 hours. This is the first mishmar. You don't got to give me the sign. Then I'll know when this mishmar is, then I'll know when this mishmar is. So exactly, why would you want to give me this mishmar for the beginning? Why would you want to give me the sign for the beginning? So watch this. If Rabbi Gamliel goes at the beginning of the watches, why do I need a sign for the beginning of the first watch? Orto is clearly night. That's 6 p.m. Rabbi, that's clearly night. Rashi says, that's when the 3 stars come out. You don't have to give me a sign. I already know that. But if you want to tell me that he's really considering maybe the signs should go on the last of the watches, towards the end of the watch. I'm sorry, not last, towards the end of the watches, right over here. If you want to tell me everything goes towards the end of the watches, maybe the donkey brayed towards the end of the watch, the dog brayed towards the end of the watch, the wife spoke towards the end of the watch, correct? So now I know it's 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. Beautiful. That's excellent. But I have a problem with this also. Why? He says, if he's really considering to tell us that the signs were given towards the end of each mishmar, the Gemara says, so mishmar achrona, the end of the third watch, meaning the end of the last watch, lamali siman, why do I need a sign? Yamamu, it's day, I don't get it. If you're over here, if you're right over here, where if it's 6 p.m. like this, when I go back over here, it's already 6 a.m. That's day. So once I know it's day, I'm going to go back 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. I'll know when each mishmar is. Doesn't make sense. Why do you have to tell me that it's going on the end of the watches. Doesn't make sense. Okay. Rather, the Gemara says, Eila, rather like this. Eila chashiv sov mishmar rishon. Rather, Rabbi Eliezer holds like this, that the donkey brays at the end of the first watch. Utchilat mishmor achrona, and the beginning of the last watch. Ve'imtze'id imtze'ita, and the middle of the middle watch. Okay, so we have like this. Let's see. Let me see. Just 1 second. Let me just erase this. Here. So let's see this one more time. Okay. Rather, Chashiv Sov Mishmor Rishon. Rather, he holds that the end of the first watch is over here. Rather, he wants to learn that the donkey brays over here. Now, Chashiv Sov Mishmor Rishon. Rather, he considers the end of the first watch. Utechilat Mishmor Achrona, the beginning of the end watch. That's when it begins, and the middle is the middle of the middle. It says middle in the middle. So that's how the watch have to be. Hey, it looks like something like a kind of a bunny. Okay, anyway. Rabotai, so he says like this. Rather, he considers the end of the first watch, the beginning of the last watch, and the middle of the middle watch. So basically that's where he's going to be. So that's when those things happen. He says, and if you want, I'll give you another answer. If you want, I'll say like this. All of them really, Rabbi Eliezer goes ahead and he arranges them, he considers each one towards the end of their watches. The first watch towards the end of the first watch. The second watch towards the end of the second watch. The third watch towards the end of the third watch. This is when the simanim were placed. That's when the donkey brays, the dog barks, and the wife speaks with her husband, and the child, the nurses from the mother. But if you're going to say, V'chi teima, but if you're going to ask me a question, if you're going to say, Achrona lo tzarich, if you're going to tell me that the last mishmar, it's not needed. Because why? Because like we said before, that it's day. Right? Over here. Because right now, what are we doing right now, Rabbi? What is the Gemara saying right now? That you could say that Rabbi Eliezer really held that all the watches were towards the end. Towards the end. So if all the watches is towards the end, that's beautiful. Comes out perfect. But I have a problem now. This last watch, why do you have to tell me towards the end? I know that this is day. I don't need a siman. So he says this shouldn't be bothering you. Because I'll be able to tell you why you really still need it, so that the wife speaks with her husband. I'll tell you why it was needed to teach us. So that's what the Gemara is going to say now, like this. If you want, I'll say like this. All of them, all the mishmarot, meaning all the signs, he really considers them to go on the end of each mishmar, on the end of each watch. If you're going to tell me the last watch doesn't need a siman, what practical difference comes out from here? Rabotai, l'may nafkamina literally means, right, from what comes out. Nafkamina means kamina from it. Meaning, what practical difference in halacha is there right now? Why do I need it? So he says, I'll tell you why. L'mikre kriyat shema l'ma'an degane bebayit afel. To recite the kriyat shema to one that sleeps in a dark house. V'lo yada zaman kriyat shema emat. And he does not know when he has to recite the kriyat shema. Kevan the isha misaperet im ba'ala, since the wife is speaking with her husband, v'tinok yoneg mishdei imo, and the child is suckling from the mother's breast, lekum v'likri, let him get up and let him recite Kriya Shema. That's why you needed to teach us over here. That's why you needed to teach me that the case, that siman with the child nursing and the wife speaking to her husband, you had to put it over here to let a person know that if he's he's sleeping in a dark house, there's no windows, nothing, it looks dark, nothing about it. He can't tell, there's no time, nothing, no problem. When your wife speaks to you, you should know that is the time for Kriya Shema. Get up and say Kriya Shema. Beautiful. Beautiful Rabbi Yisai. Okay. Amr Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel mishmed Rav. Rabbi Yitzchak, the son of Shmuel, said in the name of Rav, Shalosha mishmarot ahave halayla. Rabotai, we're going back on what we said on top. We said on top that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he goes ahead and he roars and every single watch. So now we're going to want to see what does he do? What does he do? What does he roar during those 3 watches? Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel mishmed Rav. Rav Yitzchak, the son of Shmuel, said in the name of Rav, Shalosha mishmar have alayla. The night consists of 3 watches. Ve'al kol mishmar u'mishmar, and on every single watch, Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu ve'shoeg ka'ari. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sits and he roars like a lion. Ve'omer, and he says, Oy lebanim, woe to my children, shebe'avnotehem hechrafti et beiti, because of their sins, I destroyed my house, meaning the Beit HaMikdash, v'sarafti et hechali, and I burned my heichal, v'gilitim leben umot ha'olam, and I exiled them amongst the nations of the world. So Rabotai, when we said over there that there's 3 watches that are parallel to the watches in Shamayim, so what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do in the 3 watches in Shamayim? And every single watch, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sits and he roars like a lion. And he says, woe to my children because of their sins. I had to go ahead and destroy my Beit HaMikdash, burn my Heichal, and exile them amongst the Goyim of the world. You see, Rabotai, what sins can do? If you guys look where it says Sheba Avonotehim, there's an Ot Aleph. It goes on the Hagod V'Tzionim. Right? Hagod V'Tzionim right over here. It's going to give us a different text. There is a small difference. But it's the same concept, but there's a small difference. He says like this, B'kitvi Yad, a Girsa, in the handwritten manuscript, the text was like this, Oily. Over here it says, Oily Banim. Over there it says, Oily, woe to me, Hashem says. Hashem is taking the hit for us. Shehechravti et beiti, I destroyed my Beit HaMikdash. V'sarafti et heichali, and I burned my heichal. V'gilti et banai, and I exiled my children leben amot ha'olam, amongst the nations of the world. If you look over here, it says, woe to my children. Over here it says, no, oy li. Some want to say, take away the word li, whatever it is, Rabotai. There's different texts on how you want to learn it. But in any event, when you learn it like this, woe to my children that because of their sins I destroyed my house and I burned my heichal and I exiled them amongst the nation of the world, is different from here where everything he's using against himself. So it says, woe to me, he says, I destroyed my Beit HaMikdash and I burned the heichal, and now he says, Vigilati et banai. Right? Over here he says, Vigilitim leben amot ha'olam, but over there he says, my children, Rabotai, we are Hashem's children. And he says, again, according to this Girsa, says Hashem is basically saying it's woe to him. Over there, the loss from the Gemara is understanding we're at a loss. That it's a loss for us, woe to us. But the way the Hagod V'Tzionim is saying it's a woe to Hashem, it's like Hashem is taking the hit. In any event, Rabotai, there's 2 Girshot, there's 2 texts how you can learn it. And Rabotai, this is it. We got to the 2 periods, Baruch Hashem B'lei and Haram. As usual, let's run through the Gemara from the beginning until the end as a small Chazara. Ad Sof HaAshmora, until the end of the watch. My Kasar Rabbi Eliezer. Now, Rabotai, I just want to show you something. I don't know how long this took me to do. Honestly, don't know. I think it's at least over the 30 minutes. But I want to show you something. Once you know this, and when you do Chazarot, and when you review it, when you know it good, when you come back next time around to do Chazar on this, or when you want to decide to do one day Daf Yomi, you understand your Daf Yomi will be 5 Gemorot on, how do you say? You'll have 5 separate Gemorot where you'll be able to do Daf Yomi. Because if you're going to take 45 minutes, even an hour from your day, and if you're always Chazaring your learning, you're always reviewing your learning, what's going to end up happening? So you're going to know. It's going to be easy. So something that should take you like now, I don't know how long it is, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, you could do it in 3 minutes. So if I could do one amud in 3 minutes, one daf in 6 minutes, or even 10 minutes, then if I want to divide it into 1 hour, that means I could do 6 separate masechtot. And now you can understand how people are able to do Mashas. And some people even do Rashi and Tosfos because it's not hard. Once you know the Gemara, Rashi automatically becomes easy. Because Rashi helps you understand the Gemara better. Without Rashi, you're not going to understand the Gemara. If you understood the Gemara well, that means you knew what the Rashi is saying well also. That's it, finished. So I was speaking to a very big rabbi, and he told me, I asked him, because he does like nothing. He could do 10 pages a day he does. Or if you don't want to do 5 different Gemaras, he does one. He literally finishes Masecht every single month. And I asked him, how do you do it? He says, well, what's the problem? He says, I did it well one time, and I chaz in my learning. And he says, if I get stuck somewhere, if I don't see something, then I look into the Rashi. But when it comes to Tosfos, he says, I look over Tosfos. And sometimes even Rashi says, I'll just look over it because it's not so hard, just to see if I missed anything. But otherwise, he says, he does like it's Rabotai, like it's water. And that's it, he's proficient, that's the finish. Okay? Let's do the Gemara, Rabotai. And I just want to show you, let's see how long it's going to take. I'm not going to rush, I'm going to do it normally, slowly, and I want to see how long it's going to take. Okay, let's see. Ad Sof HaAshmar, until the end of the, right, and we know that it's until the end of the first watch. My Kasav Rabbi Eliezer, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold? I Kasav Shalosh Mishmar Have Alayla. Did Rabbi Eliezer hold that the night consists of 3 watches? Leima ad arba shaot. So let him say until the 4th hour of the night. V'i Kasav Arba Mishmar Have Alayla. But if Rabbi Eliezer held the night consists of 4 watches, Leima ad shalosh shaot. So let him tell me until the 3rd hour of the night. The Gemara answers, Lo oilam kasav shalosh mishmar Have Alayla. Really, Rabbi Eliezer held that the night consists of 3 watches. V'hakam mashmalan, this is what he wanted to teach you. The ikam mishmor b'rekiya v'ikam mishmor b'ar'a. There are watches in the heaven and there's watches on the land. The Tanakh was taught in the bride of Rabbi Eliezer. Omer Rabbi Eliezer says, Shalosh mishmor have alayla. The night consists of 3 watches. V'alkol mishmar mishmar yishakadosh baruch hu. And on every single watch Hashem sits. V'shoeg kari, and he roars like a lion. She'enimar, like the pasuk says, Hashem imarom yish'ag umimon kosho yiten kolo sha'og yish'ag al nevehu. Hashem from above, he roars from his holy abode. He gives out his voice and he roars on the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. V'simul davar mishmar rishon chamor no'er. The sign to the thing is, how do we know that an hour watch is when is the first watch, second watch, third watch? So then we can parallel it to the watches in heaven. V'simul davar, a sign to the thing is, mishmara rishona chamor no'er. The first watch, the donkey brays. Shniya, kelavim tzoakim. The second watch, the dogs bark. Shilishit, tinok yunek mishdei imo v'isha misaperet im ba'ala. The third watch, the child nurses from the breast of his mother, and the wife speaks to her husband, with her husband. My kachashev Rabbi Eliezer, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold? Iti chilad mishmor kachashev. Did Rabbi Eliezer hold, meaning, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold in regards to the simanim? When did the donkey bray? When did the dog bark? When did the child nurse and the wife speak to the husband? On which, was it in the beginning watch? Was it in the end watch? Where did all these things happen? Give us the signs. So he says, Maka Chash Rabbi Eliezer, what did Rabbi Eliezer consider? If he was putting the signs at the beginning of the watches, why do you need to give me the first, the beginning of the first watch? Or we know it's evening, you don't have to give me a sign. But if you're going to tell him that he goes that for every single watch, the signs were towards the end of that watch. So Mishmor Achron Lamali, Simana, why do I need the last watch? Why do I need the Siman over there? Towards the end, why do I need the Siman? Yamamu, it's day. Eila, rather, he says, Chashiv Sov Mishmor Rishona. Rather, he says, Rabbi Eliezer considered the end of the first watch, or Techilat Mishmor Achrona, the beginning of the last watch, and the middle of the middle watch, or smack in the middle. If you want, I'll give you another answer. Kuluhu Sov Mishmor Kachashiv. Really, all of them, all the signs are going towards the end of their watches. And if you're going to tell me that the third watch, you'd have to tell me that that's the sign of where the mother, where the wife speaks to her husband and the child nurses. I don't need that sign because we already know that's day. So l'man nafkamina, to what practical difference, or for what practical difference in halacha it was this said? Lemikri kriya shema lema'an degane bebayit afel v'lo yad zman kriya shema emad. To recite the kriya shema to one who sleeps in a dark house, and he doesn't know what time the kriya shema is. Kevin the isha misaperet in ba'ala, since the woman speaks with her husband, v'tinok yoneg mishdei imo, and the child suckles he nurses from his mother's breast, lekum v'likr, let him get up and let him recite kriya shema. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel mishmei de Rav. Rav Yitzchak, the son of Shmuel, said the name of Rav. Shalosh mishmarot have layla. The night consists of 3 watches. Ve'alkol mishmarot mishmar Yishua HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'sho ekari. And on every single watch, Hashem sits and He roars like a lion. V'omer, and He says, Oy libanim, woe to my children. Shebe'avonotechem hechrati et biti, v'sarafti et hechali, v'giltim lebein ha'umot ha'olam. Woe to my children, that because of their sins, I destroyed my Beit HaMikdash, I burned my Heichal, and I exiled them amongst the nations. Rabotai, around 5 minutes, not bad. Again, you have to understand, all this is also happening with translating it into Hebrew. But again, I'm just trying to show you, Rabotai, you do get the drift, how easy it is once you get everything down. Guys, have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'Olam. Amen ve'amen.